Hello, dear friends. No, this is not the Sean Connery look. This is a sickening look. I've been under the weather for about 5 days with some kind of a respiratory problem. Been on antibiotics and steroids, and I can't seem to shake it out. I don't know exactly what it is. So be patient with me during this video, and please pray for me. Well, last week on the Italian YouTube channel, I addressed a very controversial phenomenon. The appearance of the so-called glory cloud. Some of you might know about it. And this happened in a Pentecostal church down in Sicily. If you're not familiar with it, it is the appearance of golden glitter in the air during worship that sometimes can be deposited on the hands of the believers watching. And even in the form of small rocks. I can put a link up here where there was a Bethel service that had it. So you can imagine how divisive this is, since many believers are very skeptical. Some believers do believe in it, and the secular world is making fun of it. And while I was interviewing the pastor, I reflected upon a familiar passage that hit me in a new way. We all know 1 Corinthians 13 as, the love chapter. We have heard it many times at weddings, but nestled in the middle of this chapter is a verse that takes a deeper meaning when considered carefully. So let me read it in its context. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angel, but have not love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. So what it is, basically, I'm producing a disturbing and not soothing noise. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but I have not love, I am nothing. So I have no reason to even boast at all, though I may think that I amount to something. If I give away all that I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but not have love, I gain nothing. You catch that? You're giving everything away, you're ready to die, and it's a sacrifice for nothing. Then there is the description of the characteristic of what love is. And finally, we arrive to verse 8 that says, love never ends or never fails. It will go on forever. Then it continues, as for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. And thus, those gifts that some of us are so eager to receive, and sometimes they even cause division, within the church, within the body of Christ, one day they will be gone. Then verse 9, for we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. So when the perfect comes, what is this perfect? Some people think that the perfect is Christ. But since the word is philios, it's a neuter adjective. It cannot apply to a person. So that leaves two possibilities. Either is Jesus' kingdom, or it is maturity or completion. And Paul gives the example of leaving childish ways behind as one grows up into adulthood. And therefore that will be supportive of maturity. But he also says, now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. And that certainly points to the return of Jesus and the establishment of his kingdom, since face to face always refer to an encounter, a divine encounter with God. So either way, this is the main point. Paul is urging us to prioritize putting love in the first place. And mind you, this is not the phileo love, the brotherly affection. It's not eros, romantic love. It's not storge, the familiar love. Paul is speaking of agape, the divine love that Jesus asked of Peter. And why is he telling us this? Because God is agape love. And that should be the primary trait by which people recognize us. Not by tongue, by miracles, by healing, but love. For John 4:8 says, anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. So love is the clearest reflection of Christ in us and the truest evidence of spiritual maturity. And too often Hollywood defines love as a fuzzy, warm feeling. We're not talking about feeling here. We're talking about love in action. It's choosing to do what is right and good for others, even when we don't feel like it. It's sacrifice, it's commitment, it's endurance. And so the question becomes, if the only things that last forever is love, And we're called to love one another as a sign of our belonging to Christ. Why do we chase after everything else so persistently? Why do we argue about who has the most spectacular gift, or who has more knowledge, or who works more miracles, when the only true measure of our spirituality is how well do I love? And let's be careful not to become like Simon the sorcerer. And Jesus said that the world also will recognize us not by our gifts, but by our love, the way we love one another. Not by tongues, not by miracles, but the agape that we have shown. So how well do you agape? Thanks for being patient. I love you. And I'll catch you next time. Pray for me.